If you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order. Hey everybody, welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly Vanguard podcast. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And I'm drunk. And no, I'm not. I had a
a
bad
very
day.
good reason to be.
Yep, just had a bad day. I'll leave it at that. What are we doing today?
So, we were running out of ideas again because we just finished a set review, and Festival Collection had interesting stuff, but they're not done revealing it yet. So, I just shotgunned a bunch of topics into our chat.
Okay.
Some of which are stolen from MBT's show Magical Hats.
I mean, don't give the ghost away completely. At least pretend we're.
I mean, we're not. None of the things we're talking about are related to Magical Hats this week. So the topic we decided on was whether or not, how do we feel about orders? We did an episode like this long time ago, around when orders first came out. I think it might have been around the transition of B to D. But I figured we'd revisit that topic now, partially because it's been a while and they actually designed orders this time.
They sure did.
Yeah, but also it got me thinking because of a different topic idea I had that no decks really play blitz orders, do they?
Elementarius Sanctitude.
Besides that one.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, aside from Sanctitude, which doesn't even affect deck building because it's a Sentinel, but you just replace one of your PGs with it.
The only people played some at the very beginning of D, but after that, no.
Yeah. I think the only deck that plays blitz orders right now is Lutetia because you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the beginning of D, all the blitz orders were guard related. I think they still are.
They still are, definitely.
Yeah. So what you're thinking when you're looking at them is this good enough to replace something I could have called the rear guard at some point?
And it turns out the answer 99% of the time is no.
Mm-mm.
And the 1% is my deck literally needs this to function.
Mm-hmm. And even for the decks that don't really have good shield and you need that shield, they're okay, just play more aggressively. I don't need to keep it going. I would rather this Soul Blast and be a 30k shield or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Be something that can hit.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what got me thinking on this topic is blitz orders are in a weird place, and then just how do we feel about other types of orders and just the concept of orders in general now that we're 10 sets into D.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Anybody?
I guess I'll start since I'm the one who brought it.
Yeah.
I can start since I brought up this topic. So, like I said, blitz orders seem like the worst off. I think they have not done very much interesting with blitz orders, and a lot of them end up just saying, plus 15k shield, essentially.
Yep.
I think normal orders are in a place where you don't necessarily want to be playing them because a lot of decks that don't have to don't play them, but they've also done an okay job of making orders that actually matter.
The cup!
Aside from things like the cup, even just the Craycross promos, while I hate the fact they're promos, I like the actual cards themselves. Obviously, the research order for Eva is insane, but also Brantgate as a whole is one of those nations where they just decided, you know what? Orders are all that you guys do, so that's one of those you're playing orders because you have to regardless.
I like how they used orders in Stoicheia even outside of Zorga.
Yeah,
I think that's been quite nice as well to kind of tie together at least vaguely with the orders combined with but with a primary focus on the multi-attacking. I think it's kind of nice that in that way. I think Brantgate has been mostly around set orders, which is also fine.
But I think it's good for design, but imagine if in Yu-Gi-Oh they're all right, Fiend type is only about like continuous spells are all them. That's it. Like, just like that's so weird to me. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a different game, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really help to like compare that. But like another thing too is like we have like orders have seen their fair share of play, even in like decks like Keter Sanctuary, Lyrical, even outside of decks that primarily play orders. They've played like there's been some that's revolved around orders and some that haven't. It's been I think they've done a interesting job, kind of giving decks different things to do with orders. Whether or not it's been successful every time, But I think it's been, in Brankate's case, I think, or at least in Ava's case, it's been quite powerful.
Yeah. Wellstra is also pretty good. That's another one.
It's true. But Blitz orders have been a complete miss, I think, for the most part.
I think they're afraid to cross that threshold of the Blitz order actually plussing you in some way. And I know that can be a scary line to cross. Because
for sure.
I don't imagine if they were like, all right, Eugene gets the most broken Blitz order of all time, please. Where it's like, okay, if you have a Vanguard with Eugene in the name, counterblast, like make it a Denial Griffin, right? Counterblast, retire an attacking rear guard or something like that.
Yeah, the closest Eugene has is, I'm just looking at all the orders right now, and I'm just finding ones that I didn't know exist. But Eugene has one that, it gets 10k for the battle, and then you can retire something that boosted.
Close, I guess, but...
It kills something. What do you want?
But you still have to, successfully block the attack, whereas Denial Griffin is just I'm shutting that shit down. It's gone. Yeah.
I think... Yeah, the best comparison would probably be, G-Guards, right? G-Guards are incredibly powerful. They have tons of utility, but also they existed in an extra deck where it doesn't affect your deck building.
They weren't always that powerful, though.
Only for the first wave.
Yeah, the first wave was just
5k.
Yeah, condition equals plus 5k shield.
Yeah.
That was just a Fives collection, yeah.
Yeah, but that was the first wave of G-Guards, right? Blitz orders still feel like they're doing that, even though we're 10 sets into the game now. And meanwhile, we've gotten a large variety of very interesting normal and set orders. Like I said, I think the Craycross ones are some of the most interesting. They do a lot for the decks that they're a part of. I hate that they're promos because of how impactful they are, but the Roroa one where it buffs all your back row tokens by 5k. So, because the deck is revolving around having the Momoke token and all of the plant tokens, they're all right, you get everything really big. The Thagrea order, where Persona riding becomes plus 15k and you draw 2 cards, is another one that's I see Thagrea lists running it, and it's important for them to just get all that power and advantage. As far as crossing over outside of the decks where it's either specifically designed for it or the deck revolves around orders, I feel it hasn't happened as much, I think, because of the nature of Vanguard, where you need bodies on the board to deal damage. People would rather cut orders if they can. I know that's my first instinct in deck building is how can I minimize orders that I have to play? But there are a couple that have crossed over out of the deck. So Stoicheia is a good example. Spiritual Body Condensation is a very good, just generic card. For set 10 in Japan right now, Gandiva is using Best Harvest, which was originally designed for Eugene, but Gandiva does it better because Gandiva is just kind of better Eugene.
Best Harvest is for the people.
Poor Eugene.
Oh man, yeah, it's but it's because it's such a generic effect, right? Every time you kill something, draw one. That's pretty easy to do. It's not done by all right, if your Vanguard's Eugene, draw one, or if you retired something by resting things, just draw one for everything killed.
I do think like some of the orders can still be pretty weak. Like one of the orders in set 10 was just like Counter Blast 1, like choose a column, retire all rear guards in that column, and it's like that one's okay, but I don't think you want to dedicate space to that, or you would rather that was like a rear guard you could call, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the best example of decks where it's like, well, you're just not gonna play in order if you don't have to, are things like the Stride decks, Chrono Jet and Messiah. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Get the crest and we're done. We're done here.
Yeah, and the crest is like a different mechanic, right?
Yeah, it's not even in the deck. It's just
the
thing.
Like Overlord and Minerva are another one that's just like, well, we don't have an order that like it feels super important in the deck, so we're just not gonna play them. So in that sense, I feel like orders are not successful, just that they don't always make orders that feel like, oh, I have to play this. Which is probably fine. I don't think you want to be forced into deck building with orders necessarily, unless that's like the point of your deck.
Right. But I think like at least having the orders be like an option, and not just be like, oh well, if you're not playing the deck, it's like if you can just safely ignore it. It's also kind of awkward.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. Is like I'd like for them to make more impactful orders that feel like they would matter if you chose to play them. I liked what they were doing with the Grail. I think that's one of them where it's just like, if you have the space for it, and oftentimes you do have space because a lot of decks if you're just playing like 4 of everything, you end up in a position where you're just like, oh, I have 1 extra slot. Just put the Grail in there.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. I think that's interesting. Like, Sanctitude, obviously, is a very successful example of a Blitz order because it is just that powerful, but also, like I said, it doesn't impact your deck building at all. It just replaces one of your existing PGs.
Mm-hmm. I think the other thing to be mindful of is that orders can only be played once per turn, right?
Yep, true.
So for things like in Brandgate, where the whole nation kind of revolves around that mechanic, a lot of them are like, put them in the order zone, and like operate it later or whatever.
Yeah.
Not all of them are just like you're hoping to play an order per turn. Put 2 meteors in there, and then get rid of them, and then they activate or whatever.
Yeah, and even Zorga, like Alchemagic is cheating it a little bit because you're combining it with an order in the drop zone, and so milling your orders is important.
So I think Bouchard's decision to have orders be a strict once per turn allows them to kind of make more broken orders by themselves because you can only play once per turn. But at the same time, it kind of puts them in a corner a little bit because then you're like, well, I have the cup, but I also have the Lukier order that I need to make my 4th attack. So that sucks. No cup for me.
Yeah, I think that's why the cup mostly just ends up in decks that aren't playing any other orders, or that where you like desperately need to resolve your Persona ride.
Right.
Right.
Magnolia and such.
Avant-Gardia, except Avant-Gardia is a Brandgate deck, so it also needs to play its set orders.
How many does it need? It needs like several, right?
No.
Avant-Gardia, you only use 1 at a time. Most decks I see play like 5 or 6 orders.
Okay. For Brandgate, just putting them in the zone by an effect, that's not playing an order.
No, that's not playing it.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of Brandgate decks are designed to just bypass it, and then now they've just made a card that lets you play 2 orders.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. They're like, you know what? We're sorry.
I don't think that's the first time that's happened. I know Willista had a card that let you play 2 orders, but Willista is bad. Like, hilariously so. So what do you think they could do to, like, fix Blitz orders?
Make more impactful ones?
Well, yeah. Obviously. Like, how would you design?
I know the advice to this is literally just get good. But
yeah. But also, I think part of the problem with Blitz orders, too, is that they only work on your opponent's turn, right? Like, it doesn't offer you much value on your turn in a game where the battle phase is arguably the most important.
Right.
So what's interesting is Weiss has kind of a similar idea to blitz orders called counters. And usually, like if something has like a counter ability, you can use it during the like a guard step. But if it's an event and events have counter, then you can actually activate those events on your own turn.
Okay.
In addition to like their normal, their normal timing of like during the counter step. So I thought it was interesting that Vanguard did not allow that.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember when I was like first looking at set order or blitz orders, and I didn't think about the rules behind those orders. Like, oh, this could be like interesting if you could play it during the battle phase, and then you realize like, oh wait, no, this only works on your opponent's turn. So I think even like really good blitz orders, like the one for Tamayura, where it was like Soul Blast 2 minus 10k to your opponent's front row. You don't play that anymore. Like, as soon as they found a reason to get rid of it, we did.
Yeah.
I think so. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, quick play spells can be played anytime during your turn in any phase, or they can be played on your opponent's turn if you set them, like a trap card.
Yeah.
So I imagine if they were like, if from the beginning they were like, all right, blitz orders work during just the battle phase, but either battle phase, then you could maybe design that in some way where then you go, okay, so I use the Flagbird one that gives them 20k, and that might be a little crazy, but then there's still that thing of like, would I rather have the plus 20k to my Vanguard, or would I rather have another rear guard to do stuff with? As long as they kept it to power, I feel like it would be pretty easy to design with. I don't think we're still probably kind of a ways off from blitz orders that, you know, make either call things or get you advantage in some way. Most of it's just like pay a cost, do something to power.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus 5k, drink. I think, you know, I don't have a time machine, but going forward in the future, you could always be like, either get good at this or make a new type of blitzer. Not this again.
I think I think another problem too is like, you know, you think about like a blitz order existing if it were like when this is like call a unit back and then like that unit might die at the end of turn or whatever, but like maybe and give your Vanguard some power or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like if that unit had an effect like on play, it could do something, right? And that'd be pretty cool. But a lot of cards are so carefully worded, whether it's just like they'll just be like, oh well, this can only do when played from hand during your turn, and you're like, all right, I guess.
Oh, great. Thanks.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it was like if it weren't necessarily like that, then you could kind of you could have orders like that where you can kind of get extra value where you otherwise might not be able to.
Yeah.
It would be kind of neat if they did that and like, yeah, maybe it was kind of whatever in D where it's like, all right, for Dark States, you Vanguard gets plus 10k for the battle's soul charge and calls something out of soul. Whatever, right? That seems kind of whatever in D because everything's so carefully worded, like you said. But in Premium, you would then have like crazy shit going on with Pale Moon and Dark Irregulars and stuff like that. I think that makes the game deeper in that way, and that would be defensive power creep, which is something that we're fans of on this show.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like this cool thing. I mean, it could be really messed up, and you might like it could have really bad implications in Premium. But you know, it's an interesting thing that like just because of how carefully like modern cards are worded, it's just like not really gonna have problems, at least in D probably, which is the format they clearly focus on the most.
Yes.
They could also do like they did this a lot more in V and D. It's trying like it'll happen every now and again, but not nearly as often. Which is, one effect is gated behind two costs that have like two parts to them. So you can be like, all right, play the card, Vanguard gets plus 10k. Then you can, discard a card and retire the attacking unit or something. Where like you get some kind of benefit no matter what, but also you can get the next like tier of actual card advantage by doing that.
And then the thing, I don't know if I want to go too deep into this topic necessarily because we haven't gotten the new Laurel Narrow yet, but the thing that got me thinking about how little blitz orders get used was I was also noticing that Bushiroad has not been printing as many guard restricts recently. And I do feel like that's a defined space that like they're not using as much anymore. Like it's not like it's gone entirely. There are still some cards that have it. Like the most recent prison card has a battle door effect. Chronojet kind of has it incidentally, but like since Laurel Narrow in like set 1 lyrical, they haven't really made any decks that like focus on having a guard restrict, right?
Yeah, now they're all restanding and gaining crits for no reason.
Yeah. Like set 10 is all like restanding, gaining crits. Even cards that like didn't need to have it, like Leonorn. Like I felt like a natural progression for Leonorn would have been to get a guard restrict, right? Because the whole thing is like boosting with your whole back row, making her big, huge.
Yeah.
And like the original one got a triple drive, so to me, like a natural next step was always like getting some sort of guard restrict, so that idea of like boosting all of your rear guards on one unit like meant something.
Maybe it's because it's kind of annoying. Like losing to a guard restrict is very frustrating.
Yeah. But like that's why I'm thinking like, if Blitz, like I think it has like in a way limited their design where like because Blitz orders would be the natural counterplay to that because they don't go to the guard circle. Like if Blitz orders were more impactful, like guard restricts wouldn't feel as oppressive in the same way that like in premium you can always use G guards to bypass a guard restrict, except for the ones that restrict G guards.
Yeah. This is Cody of Alternate History Hub. But yeah, that is like an implication that I didn't think of because part of the reason people are in Sanctitude and especially in Premium, not just because of strides, it's because a lot of decks do have guard restrict, and it being in order just gets around that.
Yeah.
It being free is incidental. You were gonna run a Sentinel no matter what. But all right, only one Sentinel on guard circle per turn, Gold Paladin. You're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
although like it being free in premium basically all the time is also very important.
Oh no, it's very nice. I'm saying that people would probably still run it no matter what. Even if it was just a regular ass PG, but just goes to the order zone instead of the guard circle.
But yeah, like I feel like we'll see what the new Laurel Narrow does next week, but like it does feel weird that like they had a couple of them, like obviously I think the last one where like guard restrict was really a focus of the card was probably Laurel Narrow and Flagberg are the two I think of. Because Flagberg has the triple door, and then Laurel Narrow has the Sentinel restrict. But like, there are a bunch of decks where I feel like that could have been a direction to take it, and they just haven't. So like, Bob Sagra is one where because Trick Moon gets you big huge, you would think at some point she'd get a guard restrict, or like maybe a new arms card that gives her that. But like, nope, that's not a thing. Like I said with Leonorn, and to an extent, what's her name, Astroya, like a similar thing where like. The Mask Astroya just, like, restands a dude now, even though that wasn't really part of the original design, where it was, like, gaining power, crit, drive. And, again, that's another one where it feels like some sort of Sentinel restrict would probably be, like, the natural step for something that, like, made itself very big and impactful, but, like, it doesn't.
Right.
Jadruld always had restanding rear guard, so I'm not going to count Jadruld for this one.
So, is this like a recommendation? Dear Bushiroad, please make blitz orders not suck. And then,
like sort of, because I was just like, that might still be a future discussion of just like, should guard restricts be a thing in D, because they're like not too prominent right now.
Yeah,
and it's just like, and I'm realizing like the frustrating thing about that is like the lack of defensive power in D, meaning like if you can't call a Sentinel against an opponent's like 43k crit Vanguard, that's just really annoying, because even if you have the crit heals, which, are kind of useful as of set 10, you're just feeling really bad, right?
Yeah.
So, like, Blitz orders would have been a nice, like, counterplay to that, in the same way G guards are, but they all suck, and nobody plays them, except for Sanctitude. And does having exactly one card that counters guard restrict really count as, like, counterplay?
No. When everyone's super, no one is. Like, if everyone's got it, then that's not something you sat down and went, okay, this is coming for me at the next tournament. I better put in Sanctitude. That was going in no matter what the meta was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why, like, guard restrict isn't as prominent anymore. Like, we have one or two cards occasionally that have it, but, like, nothing really has focused on it recently, even though you would think that they would, just based on how they play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it almost all of it seems incidental. Like the like Gabreg, the pineapple-looking cat in Stoicheia, cares more about the plus 10k it gets when something in the same column as it swings than it does about the guard restrict. It's a random silver bullet against Youthberg, but for the most part, you're like, I just like that it's hitting for 25k. But cool, no ones, I guess. You're doing your doing Sanctitude. Fuck, like.
Yeah. And Sanctitude itself was like a design choice made to counter grade 4s with its like free conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened that you're like, whatever. We'll just have it in everything, even in metas where grade 4s don't matter. Which is not the current meta, but, that existed at one point.
You still kind of keep it around just in case somebody drops it on you,
Yeah.
Like, in case the, Nirvana Mahar shows up, you're like, oh, cool, this is nice.
Mm-hmm. Like, obviously it's good again now because of Chronojet, but, like... yeah. Does anyone else have anything to say about, orders?
Would appreciate if they did some more blitz orders, but I don't think they've like catastrophically messed it up. So,
I mean, the fact that there's only one blitz order that you use, and you use it because it doesn't significantly impact your deck building, I think is considered a failure.
It's wasted potential in that I forgot to invest in Apple in 1987, and not wasted potential in my kid didn't make it out of college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Matt, did you have anything?
No, I mean, I pretty much said what I kind of thought the most on the orders, and otherwise I think Rupert's kind of got it down.
Okay. So I guess to the listener, how a year in, I think it's been about a year since that original episode. What do you think of orders? Were they done well? How would you improve blitz orders? Leave that all in the comments, or tweet us at Nexus at Night. Patreon.com/Nexus at Night if you want to help support us. That's super helpful right now. And then we got merch, we got playmats. How about the rest of us?
Find me on Twitter at Wiggums, 2Gs2Zs.
You can find me at Plasma Eclipse.
Find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, or you can follow my other podcast at Generation Dan. A new episode is dropping today. In that one, we're talking about physical comedy and whether it's a scam or not. Dino's words, not mine. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And have a good night, everybody.